And we're live. Hello to everybody out there in YouTube land. If you're just landing, thanks very much for joining us. I hope you can all hear me okay. And as usual, just checking that I've got everything plugged in all right. It's a lot better here tonight. We've got our heating fixed. Way! And tonight's episode was the conclusion to the look at the heroic theme in Dune. And by taking a wee look, we kind of wrap things up with Paul, look at Alia, the Atreides mistake, and then we really do have a wee look at Leto II there. Fascinating character, big favourite of everybody. Oh, sorry, I think all Dune fans really like Leto II. We're live, says Joseph. Thank you very much for joining us, Joseph. Was it you who were saying that you worked in a retirement home, a retirement community? Sorry, Joseph. If that's the case, hello to everybody there. If I'm not mixing you up. But yeah, thanks very much for joining us. Yeah, Leto II. And as I said, well, it is, Joseph. Well, hello to, if you let me know the name of your retirement community, I'll say hello to everybody there for you if you like. But hi to everyone there anyway. So Leto II tonight. And just to wrap things up, you kind of get my conclusions on this particular theme, I think. So if you've caught the end of the video, and I don't know whether you agree with them or not. Only says Joseph. Well, that's what you would expect, I think. Lots of people enjoying retirement, I hope. I think retirement communities can be quite good things, actually. I don't know. One of my did you ever see the new Twilight Zones that came out? I think, well, I would call them the new Twilight Zones. I think it was in the 80s or 90s. And there's a great one with what would be the actor's name? And it's about these people in a retirement home and they get to be all young again for the day. And it's one of my all-time favorite Twilight Zone episodes. And I'm trying to remember. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you who's in it because I just checked that it's the right person. Yeah, it's Scatman Crothers, isn't it? Who is awesome. Yeah, Scatman Crothers was Hong Kong Phooey. There you go. So if you, it's not Cocoon. No, it's an actual Twilight Zone episode. I think it's the Twilight Zone movie. Actually, I think which is made up of 3 or 4 different. I think it is. I think it might be the Twilight Zone movie. Actually, check it out. It's quite good. So anyway, but hello to everybody there. Hi, Joseph. Thanks very much for joining us. Anyway, so there you go, Cocoon. So yeah, as I suppose always, folks, if you do have any questions tonight on Leto II, or I suppose we had a bit about Paul and Alia and the Atreides and their mystique and the hero, and that's him, Chris, #1 super guy. Love Hong Kong Phooey. Great cartoon. Quite like there's a few from that era that you just don't see on TV anymore, do you? I suppose. And who am I thinking on as well? There was one, Touche Turtle. It was kind of a similar mode. I always thought he was quite good. Touche Turtle, Morocco Mole, I think, wasn't that it? Something like that. We've diverted very quickly, folks. I do apologise. Was Alia also a Kwisatz Haderach, says Joseph. Tricky. In the sense of what the Kwisatz Haderach's meant to be in the book, no. Because she has the female other memory. And she has some prescience. So I think she's a close to Kwisatz Haderach. It's tricky to say because the term Kwisatz Haderach really is focused towards a male who can see into the male line. But she has she's part of that Janus representation with Paul. And also within I suppose the Jungian idea of the syzygy, that archetype. So Alia is one of those characters that works within multiple archetypes within the Dune series. So yeah, I think so. Within the whole idea that nobody can see into only the women can only see into the female line. The Kwisatz Haderach, in that sense, Joseph. There has to be male because they're looking for someone to look into the male genetic line. Though I think as they could possibly be a hermaphrodite. But in terms of what the meaning behind the Kwisatz Haderach, Yeah, she could be. Yeah, as in a shortcut, an evolutionary jump. But we don't really get to see how that plays out with Alia. And rather than being able to deal with the multitude, etc., and it's a bit like what the God Emperor does, but she brings. Yeah, I think the madness that Alia has is caused by one personality from other memory. Well, it's supposed to be caused by one personality, isn't it? But it's the male personality of the Baron who is male. So kind of hard to explain why his personality is there. And we have to generally, my personal money on it is that it's because of she is genuinely mad, um, quite insane. I think at that point. So I think the and of course not explained. It's up to us to figure it out. But uh, if you sort of start applying about what you know about Alia and to her as a little child and everything, it's any wonder that people go insane, if you see what I mean. And it is a common thread within um, failed Kwisatz Haderachs, and it even falls back to, I suppose, Erewhon's butler with the pre-Erewhonians. Prescience is not a good thing. And I think she keeps pushing her drug use, or the use of melange, in order to try and get better glimpses at the future. But though she's not quite the same as Paul. But in many ways, she is as powerful as him, I think. But again, we look at Ali as a tragic character, I think. And let's see, just to catch up with you. So okay, so it's only males that can be that then, and she had male personalities in her abomination. So yeah, that's that, as Brad's saying there, that's the problem with it, and therefore the madness makes sense because the Baron shouldn't be there. If she was going to be, you'd think of a different female personality perhaps, or something like that would be tormenting her, but it's because it's the Baron's, it's him in particular. It doesn't quite make sense, I think. So madness is the one thing I think that works there, Joseph says, I wonder why Herbert chose to separate the sexes so acutely. I'd be absolutely nutters if I had billions of people. Yeah, you'd go nuts, wouldn't you? It really is it's as a thought exercise, apply what that must be like. You would go absolutely bonkers. There's some people that have complete recall. And when we mean complete recall, they mean it. They remember everything, and it's meant to be pretty horrific. But yeah, so let's just catch up with it. In terms of why did Herbert choose to separate the sexes so acutely, Joseph, it's the fundamental thing about it is, I think that Dune is exploring different paths of evolution. And so we can have the idea that there's humans on different planets, and that would arguably push all their evolution in different ways. The Bene Gesserit, a female-only approach, so we can explore evolutionary ideas and genetics through a female line. We have the Bene Tirax, kind of all male. We have their sterile, their face dancers who are mules. So we get a range of these things within the Dune universe, and their old-fashioned attitudes to sex and reproduction. They're new, more modern for the time, I suppose. Attitudes to sex and reproduction, etc. But the separation of the genders within that idea of Dune, I think it allows for a much. I talk about this in some of my earlier videos, that a lot of people who write about evolution tend to explore, here's one direction that mankind's going to go, let's have a look at that. Or occasionally you might get that would be like the Martians in the War of the Worlds. Occasionally you get a compare and contrast. You might get two paths of evolution, like in the Time Machine with the Eloi and the Morlocks, but you've got loads in the Dune universe, and that kind of makes much more sense that we should, and it's possible that societies can become like that. Some species, for example, I'm pretty sure there's a species of shark that when there's no males around, the females go parthenogenic and produce offspring that are female, and allows a survival of the until males turn up, if you see what I mean. So separation of gender within nature is a thing as well, anyway. But I think it's to do with that, Joseph. It allows for a much broader exploration of evolution. And remember that there's a lot of Frank Herbert's wife, Bev. There's a lot of her hand in the Bene Gesserit in particular, I think, and the female characters all around. Let me just catch up with you a bit, folks. Here, my wee thing's scrolling around. Strange that she killed him. It was his personality that took over. She killed him as an infant. You know what I mean? I don't know how old is Alia when she kills the Baron? Is she 2.5 or 3? You know, if, for anybody who knows the Baby Cart series, the Lone Wolf and Cub books. I don't know if anybody does know these books. They're incredible. The baby in the Baby Cart is called Diagoro, if I'm pronouncing it right. And by the end of it, I mean he's a baby, but this kid not only has the eyes of a killer, but is a killer by the end of these books. And Diagoro from the Baby Cart, the Lone Wolf and Cub series, but also known as the Baby Cart books, the Baby Cart films, would be something very similar, and maybe to the baby Alia, the very young Alia. I hadn't thought about that actually. They're very similar characters, in some ways. But yeah, so the Barnes glitch, madness, I think, hallucination, pure insanity. I think really it's the only explanation for it. That's the idea that he's come back from beyond the grave to take revenge on the Atreides, that kind of thing. No, I thought genuine madness. I think there's, as I said, there's other explanations for it. We've heard a few. I think they're more, some interesting ones, that the Barons are hermaphrodite, and that's why he appears there. But they're kind of thought exercises at the end of the day. We're consistently told that abomination leads to madness, and madness generally leads to death. It is put into the Dune universe, so it's set up that we think Alia should be all right with this. That's the point of it, isn't it? That the big fear, we know the fear for the young Alia, but she seems to get through it okay. It's that fear comes back in much later. I think the impact of it. I think we kind of expect it to happen to a young Alia, and it doesn't, and we get that skip in time within the books. Excuse me. Excuse me. So there we go. Randomity. Sorry, I'm catching up here, folks. I'll discuss something about that in a wee second. Randomity says, "Good evening, all." Hello, Randomity. Brad Rose. Hey, Rand, and Joseph Smith, etc. Hi, everyone. Say hello. I'm catching up here. It was interesting because the way we were talking last night, sometimes I catch up to things, and people are commenting down here on things that I've said, and I'm kind of losing track of a few things. It's interesting, so I'm going to try not to do that, or try to engage with it a bit better. But I was starting to think it was all a bit hypertextual. So hello to everybody who's just joined us, and it's good to have you with us. Any questions? As usual, we had a wee bit about Ali and Paul, Leto II tonight, and of course our conclusions to what I think about Herbert's approach to the theme of the hero. Do we ever meet a female member of the Harkonnen family in the original series? Either Prime's got Jessica there. Paul's mother, it says, Brad. That's a good answers, guys. But otherwise, I don't think so. Either says, "Here's to hoping all the way to the end," because the last 2 books are my favorites. Other than the first, that is. Joseph says, "Okay, so more like a literary device, allowing him to explore more nature options for evolution." Yes, I believe so. And was she ever actually a child, though? Yes, but she is an infant. I mean, it talks about Alia tries to explain herself to Hera, isn't it? And so she is a child at the beginning, but she has all that flood of consciousness. So she's aware and has adult personalities and adult knowledge, but she still is a little kid, and she gets scared, and But it talks about the sense of comfort that she gets from Jessica as her mother, and so on, as just a a fetus, really. So it's there you go. So yeah. Sorry, just reading a wee bit there, folks. No, her bodily age has nothing to do with the age of her inner voice. Yeah, but she still has to grow up as well, I think. So it's that kind of thing where she is both a child and an adult, if you see what I mean. Ali is the lesson of abomination. Yeah, we just sort of kind of get the sense that abomination should kind of almost happen instantly, if you know what I mean. That's what, and that because you get the sense because she hasn't gone mad at a certain point, And we don't know how Ganima turned out. Um, but I think Ganima has a long enough life, doesn't she, and produces many Atreides children. But I think what we find out about Ganima is probably in the God Emperor Babs. But it would probably be just something mentioned in hindsight. That's kind of my big. It's a real pity about Ganima, I think, because it would have been interesting to have Ganima around with the God Emperor. But it's just that, it's interesting. Right, okay, let's see. Ethan Prince says, oh, Joseph Smith says, Lone Wolf and Cub, FTW. What's that mean? What's that acronym? But yeah, Joseph says, Ether, I get you. Alia is the lesson of abomination. We don't know how Ganima turned out, says Babs. Let me see. Random, it says, how did Alia have access to the Baron Harkonnen's memories since these were male memories? Oh, for the win. Ah, right, gotcha. Thank you very much, Joseph. I'm not that hip with some of these modern acronyms these days. But yeah. Actually, I just thought about that. Diagoro and Little Ali are quite similar, just in terms of if you understand what Diagoro's like at the end of Lone Wolf and Cub. But if anybody's you've got 28 volumes to read of Lone Wolf and Cub, but absolutely go for it. It's something I would gush about to people. I just think I consider it a cultural artifact of Japan. And just really the highest literature and very good art as well. Extremely good art. Couldn't recommend it more. So yeah, Randomity. How did she have access to the Baron Harkonnen memories since these were male memories? Just doesn't make sense. I think And again, Frank's there. He's not going to explain all of these things. He wants a wee bit of mystery to it. I think that's really part of it. And all these years later, we're kind of sitting here speculating about Alia's madness and why is the Baron there. So, in terms of still selling books and stuff, I think Frank knows what he's doing, and he has us all still guessing. Really, there is no absolute set in stone answer there. As I said, there are a few possibilities, but we can approach it logically or etc. etc. I've got weird interference, by the way. We're in the estate in the last few days. We have weird interference coming in over a computer, and I'm not too sure what it is from. But somehow my computer's picking up, and it's just coming through like that. So I do apologize if you can hear it in the background, but it's possibly we have the police in through our estate all the time, so it might be them. Dear. Let's see. For the win. I've always wondered about that too, and I see this question over and over again in discussions about it. Yeah. In terms of acronyms, I too am old. I just get exposed to things like that via my kids. Yeah. No, my son doesn't tell me anything. I've got to find out myself. Brad, Ether Prime says, my theory is that what makes her an insane abomination is that she has a preborn Bene Gesserit female with access to both. Excuse me. It is hinted at throughout the series that the Bene Gesserit feel terrified by the madness that comes with looking toward the place that they cannot look. Yes, indeed. Ether. That is the male line, and that's why they seek to produce a Kwisatz Haderach. But I think it's also suggested either that the madness that abomination comes from is the swarming of personalities that can overcome a person, and sometimes a person comes to the fore, or they actually get swamped by the whole similitude, isn't it? Because but one of the abilities of the Bene Gesserit is actually to take a group out of other memory and kind of put together almost like a conference, and they call it simuflow, where they can have a little multi-personality thing. But I think it's to do with that actually. It's either the horde of personalities swarming over the person, or sometimes it's a dominant personality. And I think that's possible, But as I said, it's totally open to interpretation. And I think Alia's end, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, she defenestrates herself. that kind of rings bells and points to certain characters from literature and mythology. But I would argue, for example, it reminds me of Ophelia, and so I do look at her as tragic. A sense of madness definitely, I think, fits. If you see what I mean. Uh, let's catch up. Okay, well, I still use uppercase letters in chat. Boomer's curse. Well, it's one of these things, isn't it? We're all pigeonholed by the decade or whatever period that you're born now. So we're either said my dad's a war baby, I suppose. So he kind of doesn't fall into that category, but we're all either boomers or Generation X. Was it Generation Y, Generation Z, Millennials, Gammons, all of these? I think it's fun. Randomly says, assuming the movie is successful, how far into Frank Herbert's books will they go? I think you're getting a sense from Denis Villeneuve that I think he'd like to do the run for at least the Children of Dune. That's kind of what I was getting the impression of. If you're a super mad Dune fan, like Danny claims to be, then I would imagine he must be chomping at the bit to put the God Emperor on the screen. Just my opinion. If I was the guy in charge of the woohoo, I'm a super Dune fan, here's millions and millions of pounds and run with it. Yeah, sure. Let's get the God Emperor here. We're going to get to be the voice of the God Emperor, and let's build the God Emperor. You know what I mean? It's the character that I think outside of the main Dune film, the main Dune book, I think most Dune fans would want to see on the screen. I suppose, and we have seen Leto II on the screen, played by James McAvoy, but it's only up until the end of Children of Dune, so we start to see that transformation, but we've never seen the God Emperor himself, I suppose. But yeah, I'd love to see that myself, guys. I don't know about you, but assuming the movie is successful, I think they could go the whole way, randomly. But I'm not sure all of the Dune books would. Actually, you know what? I'm really. It depends on how this. Keeping an open mind, but I'm waiting to see the level of detail in the new film and kind of what they have done with the book. And if they have really translated the book pretty well to screen, then I don't see why they can't do it with the others. Um, So I guess it's up to the movie people, and I'm sure maybe Denis Villeneuve might want to do new things, but he's I don't know. He seems to be pretty businesslike about going about his business and making a movie. So I don't know, but it's a question of how suitable they are for cinema. But maybe even up to Children of Dune or something, God Emperor of Dune. I would go all the way. I'd make them all into films, but it's I'm assuming I'm not sure all of them would be palatable to audiences who want to see big epic space battles and generally what we want to see on the big screen. I mean, it's like the new Star Wars films, and if you think about it, nobody's ever going to fault those films on special effects. The amount of money they put in. Of course, it looks amazing. Of course, it sounds amazing, etc. But it's the writing behind it and the stories and stuff at the minute that are a bit poor, I think. And I don't know if anybody's watched it, but talking about not many new ideas in science fiction, and is it The Mandalorian? Looks suspiciously awful. I've only seen the first series of Mandalorian, by the way, but it looks outrageously like Lone Wolf and Cub. Outrageously. Is it another Star Wars ripoff from I don't know what anybody thinks, but you'd have to know Lone Wolf and Cub to see what I mean. But Baby Yoda is Diagora as far as I'm concerned. Right, I better catch up, folks. Let's see. I think we're all discussing how old we are. Is there anyone here who doesn't identify as old? And Joseph saying, Babs, I'm not yet that old. Says Brad. I don't know. Maybe it's middle-aged. You start counting how old you are in days, if you like. Or decades make you feel young. Ether Prime says, yeah, I think it's the access to the male end that makes one an abomination. Chris Gibson says, I often wondered if Frank had a reason why he didn't introduce us to any of the female Harkonnens, whether children or spouses. Clearly they are there, but they don't even have a walk-on part. I think we have to assume that there's a level of mistrust of any female, pretty much, by the Baron on GD Prime. He's assuming that there's an assumption that almost all women are unless they're in their slave pits or something, but all women are pretty much Bene Gesserit, or, somehow Bene Gesserit trained or acting for the sisterhood. So I think there's a lot of distrust of women there. But yeah, in fact, where are the women of the Atreides? Where are yeah. The Emperor's got 5 daughters. We only really kind of see one. But so yeah, it's, and again, it's focusing on kind of the elites and certain action in the books, but it's we're not really given a totally fleshed out view of that. I think we just I don't know. It's a feudal society as well, so we can assume that maybe women in general aren't, apart from the Bene Gesserit sisterhood, maybe aren't in those sort of great positions, I suppose. I'm not sure. We're not told of any sort of ladies running households, for example, any feudal households run by a lady rather than a lord, if you see what I mean. So yeah, I don't know. No Harkonnen kids. I know female Harkonnens again. Well, again, it's just there's a deliberate sort of, we're going to have female only, male only children, and I suppose why we're not seeing female characters in certain places is partly because the Bene Gesserit are not giving birth to female characters. If you see what I mean within the series. Excuse me. I'll take some fluids here, folks. Hope you are all keeping well tonight, by the way. It's another stormy one here. It's not stormy, but it's not pleasant. Let's see. Ether says, I'm 42 years young. Life begins at 40 after all, so I'm a veritable newborn. There you go. Chris says, hi, Vladimir. How is work? You wouldn't believe the day I've had it. Yeah. Where's the domestic bliss of the Dune universe, if you see what I mean? It's kind of because it's sort of semi-operatic, I suppose. I used to sort of joke that Germanic opera was kind of grandiose people doing grandiose things in a grandiose way, and a kind of Italian opera was more sort of ordinary people doing ordinary things in a grandiose way. It's not a particularly good definition, if you see what I mean, but there is a sense of, the epic nature opera, snapshot in the lives of that kind of thing. But yeah, so it depends. There's different ways of looking at how Herbert approaches female character in Dune. There's often a lot of praise for the Bene Gesserit characters, etc., for Jessica and for Chani, Excuse me. Margot Fenring's a great character, I think. And then, of course, we've got a good cluster of female characters later on. But the general kind of, where are all the women kind of thing, it's as good a question whenever people ask that of the Bene Trilaks. You could easily ask it of, maybe that's Frank pointing it out to you, where all the Bene Trilaks women. We don't go, well, where's all the, yeah, actually, hang on a minute, where's all the women, period? If you see what I mean, where, yeah. So there you go. It's a good point. Excuse me. But yeah, that's funny, Chris. I do like that. Randomly, God Emperor filmable, or would it be the equivalent of filming the Silmarillion? Oh, or for Lord of the Rings, Silmarillion. Now, I've only read that once. I think it would be filmable, but it wouldn't make a great film. If you see what I mean, you can put anything on film, but should you? Sometimes, see, I sort of think modern day mediums, radio, believe it or not, the spoken word is sometimes much, much better for certain things, I think, What did I read by Tolkien? No, I can't remember the title of it. It was one of the more weirder ones. And it was ages ago. No, I'm not going to remember it. But it was tricky. It was an attempt to kind of write something to do. I think it was the tale of Luthien, Beren and Luthien and Juan, the dog. And it was an attempt to sort of write it like a kind of Anglo-Saxon type poem. The Lays of Balerion. There you go. There's my memory working. That's what it's called. Sorry. So The Lays of Balerion. And could you make that into a film? Yeah, you could, but would anyone want to watch it? Maybe. I don't know. I quite enjoyed reading it, but visual medium. So is it filmable? I think it is, to be honest, Joseph. Oh, sorry, who asked that? Sorry, Joseph's just below you there. I think it is randomity. I think it is filmable, but and it's another chunky book, though. Again, remember there's only one kind of set, reasonably sized novel out of the Dune series. The rest of them are pretty much the same size as Dune or larger, I think. So you probably need 2 films, I think. Joseph, how awesome is it that a book written decades ago can bring such joy today? So it's the mark of a good book, Joseph, is that it has longevity. And we talk about Samuel L. Jackson as the God Emperor. I don't know about that. I'm the ultimate predator, motherfucker. That kind of thing. All sorts of. I suppose it'd be one of those kind of things where you're going to require. He's going to be, if it's God Emperor, he's a worm from the get go. So it'd be one of those interesting ones where an actor maybe working with a prosthetic kind of big. I don't know how they would do it, or CGI or something, but basically it's going to be just the actor's face. And you're going to need a good face and a good voice on that actor, whoever it is. But you're not going to see much of that. You're not going to see much of the actor who plays the God Emperor. Put it that way, it's going to be a bit like Carl Urban playing Dredd. You're just going to see that. You're not going to see too much of him, I think. So you're going to need a really good actor to play the God Emperor of Dune, aren't you? Need somebody with gravitas. Very big gravitas indeed, I think. I'm not sure who would suit it. But but randomity, I do think it's filmable. It would need Babs thinks randomity would need a series too much of Leto. Well, that's the other point. I think the whole thing would make a good series, definitely, and that deals with a lot of problems of size and scope, I suppose, of the story, and allows you to sort of look at things more in an episodic way as well. So yeah, it could suit a TV, but I think if it was going to go for the film randomity, you'd need 2 of them. I think God Emperor is a pretty hefty book. Let's see. Ether Price says God Emperor of Dune is the hardest in the series to film. I'd still say it would be the hardest one to film. If I wanted to produce a visual animated form, I'd simply pick a different point of view character. Ether Mineo. Point of view. I suppose point of view really is Ether. It always carries the thing. It's we have a third person omniscient narrator. Within the Dune series, and so the point of view is actually your own. You're the point of view character within the Dune series. That's the way it's written. Something I keep pointing out to people, but it's a bit subtle, if you see what I mean. But it's certainly not point of view like, say, Song of Ice and Fire, that kind of thing. Ether says, choosing Siona or Duncan Azor. Well, there's sections where the action's going to leave the God Emperor, I think, isn't it? But it would be interesting to kind of think about how you could film it with maybe the God Emperor's always seeing everything as well. You see, he knows and sees everything. All right, money's too weak, no audience was wonderful. Oh, I don't know. I think Dune has a big global fan base. I think it's a very popular book globally, and it has been a very popular book globally for over 50 years now. So in terms of, it should have a multi-generational audience, to be honest. And it should have a multicultural global audience as well. There are not many kind of books that I know if I go to some countries and just go, have you read Dune? Yeah, we know that book. Yeah, it's a great book. Everybody likes that. Yeah, it's one of those books where it's read all over the world. There we go. Oh, Cat Cold Pit. That's a good choice, Brad. I like that one. I haven't seen him on TV in a long time. Ether Price, $2, not one. Don't forget the vanished older sister. Oh, lost the context there. Gilbert Gottfried as the God Emperor. Are we going? Yeah, tell you what, folks, throw down your ideas. If we're getting a bunch of them, who do you think, which actor do you think would be best to play the God Emperor? I suppose as they are now. Who do you think would do the best job? Yeah, it was Moneo. We understand Leto. With Moneo, we understand Leto most. Multi-narrator would be good. Different again. How you approach adapting Dune for the screen, it's going to be different than the book. Really different. And again, I think there was a bit of a bit of a brouhaha with Denis Villeneuve, and I think he said something about Chani being the main. Was it? I think he's even said it. That I didn't say it right. The main protagonist in the second part of the film, and it was one of the main. What he meant was one of the main protagonists, I think. But it seemed to bother quite a lot of people. I thought it was quite funny, and because I still view the reader as the protagonist, but it's a visual medium. It's a different thing than reading the book, you know. Let's see. Said about Wagner, beautiful moments, painful quarter hours. Really? So, oh right, set of German opera, we raise to our lips that which brings us still closer to the abyss. Ah, the Rheingold is awesome, but things get ponderous in the remaining remaining half of the trilogy. It's two parts of the trilogy. Where are we? Just to catch up. Sorry, I was trying to stick with certain threads there. Yeah, that was just my silly. That was my little joke, by the way. I don't think anybody's ever said that about about German or Italian opera, to be honest with you. But we're getting some good quotes there. I like that randomly. Of German opera, we raise to our lips that which brings us still closer to the abyss. Sturm und Drang, isn't it? Babs, why don't you think I get he's a bit of a simple? Oh, did I lose it? Was it Maneo, one of two daughters, not one? Don't forget one banished older sister. Ethet, is that a sibling or of Maneo's? Is there another Atreides out there that was banished or something? Yeah. Right, Das Rangold is awesome, but things get ponderous in the remaining two of the trilogy. So I was a typo. I meant Maneo, not money. Ah, right. That's okay. Don't worry, guys. Sometimes I do lose the thread a wee bit, because I'm bouncing, and sometimes I'm trying to follow different things, and I'm catching up with the text sometimes. So I do apologize. And if I do not get the sense of what you're saying, give us another wee kind of nudge, and I'll figure it out sometimes. But if sometimes I know I'm not quite getting the gist of what people are asking or saying, but I'll do my best anyway. But Maneo, not money. No worries. Let's see. Good call. So Joseph says the best voice actor we can have a different face. Really stick it to Star Wars. Who would we think is a good voice actor? As I writer, I fully understand the difference between third person, omniscient, third person. No worries. Moneo's too weak. No audience would want to follow him. He has a bit of a. I don't know. Aether, he's very good at staying alive, isn't he? If you think about it, he's the God Emperor's personal major domo, and he's always on the lookout for the worm, isn't he? And he's the one person that should feel safe around the God Emperor, yet is ready to hide and get the heck out of there at the slightest sign of the worm. Sorry, Babs and either you guys are probably you're probably more familiar with God Emperor of Dune these days than myself. As I said, it's been about 10 years since I've read that one. So, but going to work my way through them. Looking forward to getting to it. That's the one I'm looking forward to getting to the most, actually. As most people point out, I think it's the one that we had a lot of people's favorite book in the Dune series. It's the one that I enjoy the most, I think, because it's so different. Yes, but in today's world, he would be viewed as a weak do boy, simp as Babs. Right, I'm starting to follow your thread now. Again, what he's viewed as and what he is are two different things. I put it this way: there's an awful lot of Duncan Idahos that get killed by the God Emperor. If you see what I mean, Moneo's been around for a good bit by the time we get to the God Emperor of Dune. So I'm assuming he survives lots of these. I don't know. I wonder, is there a bunch of Moneos possibly? But I don't think so. I think he's just naturally born as part of the God Emperor's breeding program. Random, he says, as much as I love Dune, not sure it's a Hollywood tentpole. Herbert starts with an incredibly detailed and immersive world, then proceeds to completely deconstruct it by God Emperor. Yeah, and then he kind of blows it up after that, doesn't he, Random? Daniel Day-Lewis is the God Emperor. Says Brad. not sure it's a Hollywood. I mean, I'm holding full reservation on the film randomity until I see it, and I'll certainly give. I'll put it this way: I'll be able to give you a very good opinion on it. I think because I do understand the material well, and I do like my films, and I'll definitely let you know whenever. I'm sure we all see it. We can all get our opinions on it. But the anticipation is building, isn't it? It's I don't know where you're all on the countdown to, or if some of you have seen it, but we're at the 11th here, so it's 10 more days to go. I don't know, Brad. Daniel Day-Lewis was the God Emperor. Yeah, I think he would give it his all. I think. I'm not sure who I would pick. I think you need somebody with a very transformable voice. I think, if you see what I mean, someone who's got a strong voice that's kind of velveteen, if you see what I mean, and then very, very be able to turn it on very, very powerfully. I think. I'm trying to think. I don't know who. I can't remember the name of the actor, but I talked the other day about Saruman and voice in the Lord of the Rings, and particularly I was talking about the BBC audio drama and how well the actor who plays Saruman kind of uses the voice in that and where he's trying to go, you were my friends and all this, very hypnotic, and then he totally loses it and becomes he's very good. He swings between the two very well. But I think you need an actor with a really good vocal range, possibly a pretty kind of bass type voice. Maybe, I don't know. Excuse me. One of my favorite. I suppose we all love James Earl Jones, don't we? And we all love him as the voice of Darth Vader, and he does loads of narration. But the one thing I love that he did best, I think James Earl Jones' finest role is Thulsa Doom in Conan the Barbarian. He's an unbelievably, hypnotic. Literally, he's very, very good. He's extremely good as the bad guy in Conan the Barbarian, and nobody really talks about James Earl Jones in that. And we all talk about it's just the Darth Vader thing, isn't it? He's absolutely brilliant villain and unbelievable villain in Conan the Barbarian. He's a great performance. It's a fantastic film all around, absolutely. But I think James Earl Jones is I think there's a lot of people very good in that, but I think he's outstanding in it. Outstanding, really good villain. Some great lines as well. So there we go. I don't know. I'm racking my brains to think who would make a good God Emperor. Who's got a good voice? See, I can think of different actors from different generations that would make a good God Emperor. But if he was still alive, I'd pick Richard Burton. There's a God Emperor for you, I think. So I think somebody with a voice, something similar to like that. I think James Earl Jones's voice is too familiar. It would be like Darth Vader offering up aphorisms. Oh yeah, I don't think that's the thing, randomly. I don't think he could do it now. You need something fresh. I think something as iconic as James Earl Jones's voice. Again, Richard Burton's voice. Well, I'm talking about great voice actor. If anybody's not heard it, Richard Burton did a version of Under Milk Wood for the BBC audio drama. It's exceptionally good. It's really good. Richard Burton's the narrator for the War of the Worlds. I believe he's just been replaced by Liam Neeson of all people, which is sad because Burton's voice is brilliant. I think it's really good. Patrick Stewart as the God Emperor. No. No, don't think he's right for it, Keith. I don't know. What do you think? I mean, I get what you mean. This is the Shakespearean voice, I know, but he can turn it on, but I don't think he has. It's a. I'll tell you what. The sort of thing that I'm thinking about is if anybody's ever watched a stage version or seen the film of An Inspector Calls. And the inspector is often miscast quite badly, I think, in films and plays of that play. And it's J.B. Priestley's Inspector Calls. And the inspector, he's a supernatural being. Um, but the way he's described is like massive presence. Um, and he's got big presence in the play normally, but it's when he turns it on that it's that you need an actor with that kind of quality. I think it was Alistair Sim, was it? I think played him originally. Middle East John Gielgud. If we're picking out our favorite actors, I suppose then we can go with maybe living or dead, Babs. But yeah, John Gielgud is I don't know. I think a real sinister. Oh, I'll tell you what. There's a good idea. Maybe James Spader. I was talking about him the other day. Maybe James Spader would be a good choice for the God Emperor. Scarlet Jeremy Irons. Yeah, that kind of. Who else is kind of good? Charles Dance is around a lot these days. He does a good villain, doesn't he, as well? Yeah, I don't know. Middle East Sir John Gielgud. J. Doctor Strange. James Earl Jones and Doctor Strangelove, yeah. It's been a while since I've seen that. It's very good. The voice should reflect the boredom and ennui of one who has lived for 3,500 years. Yeah, it's got to have, but there'll be brightness in it as well. There'll be moments, I think, within it. But that's a very good point. It should be so weary and tired, but it should be very powerful, I think. Anthony Hopkins, perhaps. It's a bit too obviously Welsh, I think. I'm the God Emperor of Dune, you boyos. If you see what I mean. I don't think that was a very good Anthony Hopkins impersonation, by the way. Kenneth Branagh. I don't know. He's a Belfast man, but so I would probably go no. Actually, I'm not sure. I don't know. These are my. I'm saying no and yes to your. What do I think of that? That's terrible of me. I don't know. It's in my own head. I do apologize if I'm not meant to be shooting your ideas down. I think they're great and keep throwing them up. They used to do this with Judge Dredd in 2080 years ago. They used to put all these different actors in and put a helmet on them. They were trying to figure out who was the best person to play Judge Dredd based entirely on their chin. If you see what I mean, Judge Dredd is meant to have an enormous chin. It's a similar kind of exercise. Sometimes I hear Bill Nye's voice when reading God Emperor of Dune, but not sure it would be a good casting. You think? I'll tell you what, David, Bill Nighy is in the Lord of the Rings audio drama on the BBC, the one we were talking about, but he's in it as William Nighy. I was curious, but I didn't equate the two, but it's the same person. So he's in the original BBC audio drama of the Lord of the Rings, and he is Samwise, believe it or not. And you'd never know it was him. I mean, so has Bill Nighy got great voice acting chops? If you have a listen to that, yes, absolutely. I haven't seen much of his stuff lately, but I think he's kind of doing a lot of Hollywood villains and things. I think Bill Nye is a good comic actor, actually. But but again, I don't know. I'm thinking massive. I'm thinking of a certain cadre of actors, and a bunch of them are dead, really, I suppose. But it's good to hear your. Yeah, we're all kind of thinking classically trained actors, aren't we, and so on and so forth. Maybe what you were saying, somebody's saying Patrick Stewart. I suppose he's old enough and he can play. He's been playing old weary guys for a while, so maybe I think I can actually see why that might work. But I think again, it would just be he's too recognizable. I think as a voice actor, he really is quite. Yeah, I'm sure we can all do a Patrick Stewart impersonation. Oh dear. Joseph says, I've got to run, but I'll catch the rest later. Be well. Thanks, Joseph. Take it easy. All the best. Just running back up a wee bit. David says, sometimes when I hear Bill Nye, good. Yeah, as I said, I think Bill Nye's got a excellent voice actor. Ether Prince is the guy who did all of the late 80s and 90s movie trailers, perhaps. Laughing out loud. I never want to see or hear of her. Oh, do you know what, guys? You've just given it to me. Sorry, Ether Prime. The Carlsberg ads. Do you know who used to do the Carlsberg ads? There is your voice, I think, and sadly he's not with us any longer, is he? There's your voice for the God Emperor, I think, ideally, would be James Coburn. Probably. He's the guy who used to do probably the best lager, and he's a great actor as well, but don't know what you think, but I think his voice has everything that we're looking for. But sadly he's not here anymore. But there you go. It's interesting how we run these things in our minds. But keep firing away with who you think might make a good God Emperor. Interesting. Let's just catch up. Oh yeah, and you're thinking on. Yeah, I've seen a program, Ether, by the way, about those guys that did those trailers, and I talk about wanting to have been a Foley artist when I was a kid. But the guys that did the trailers voices, I also wanted that job. In fact, I'm still up for it. If anybody ever wants me to do a voiceover, I'd absolutely love to do a movie trailer. But I saw a program about them, and I think it was one or two guys did them all. I think coming soon. Well, what great voices they had as well. They don't make trailers like that anymore. Bill Bailey. Oh dear. Says Brad. Very good, Brad. Not. It would make a very silly God Emperor with Bill Bailey, I think. But yeah. Could pretend like he swallowed the little book of calm or something. Keith says most of us are listing men with a distinct commanding presence as Leto II might be better played by a chameleon like Andy Serkis. Quite possibly. Again, he's your go-to guy for all things stop motion. And he's a good actor. He's versatile, isn't he? Yeah. Yeah, again, it's where's your head at? And I haven't seen a lot of films, and I'm kind of not up to who are all the latest actors and all of this kind of thing, guys. I do apologize. So that's I'm trying to think of people who I think, and a bunch of the actors that I'm picking out are dead, but they're that quality of voice, if you see what I mean. I would even argue, who did I sort of kind of that Richard Burton voice, that James Coburn type of voice, and I was even thinking, who was the voice of Paddington Bear, the original Paddington Bear? Michael Hordern. He would have been great. He's Gandalf in the original radio show. But so those kind of voice actors who I know can turn it up and wow, but really have a crisp pronunciation, a very particular voice. Yeah, but it needs to be tired and weary. But that's what you need a good actor for, guys. Don't necessarily go find me an actor who's very tired and weary of life. He'll do the kind of things we want from actors and movies. It's kind of harsh sometimes, especially with these method actors. Yeah. So, let's just catch up. And David's saying love now. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Keith. We're looking for somebody with real gravitas, a real presence, a vocal presence. Because we're assuming we're not going to see much of the physicality of the actor, Yeah, Randolph says, yeah, I could see an opportunity for Serkis to do a lot of facial emoting. This is the narrator of the Dune audiobook, Simon Vance, does a great job, in my opinion. Excuse me. I haven't heard. I've heard some audiobooks of Dune, the Dune season. I think they're quite old, and I think they're quite poor quality. So I've never been able to So I've never listened to them actually because of that. But they were kind of downloaded off the web, if you see what I mean. Brad says in the 90s, Glenn Danzig was approached to play Wolverine for X-Men. Maybe that would have been good casting. Glenn Danzig from the band Glenn Danzig. Is that who? If I remember correctly. Goodness, am I remember? Is that who you mean, Brad? I don't know much about the man, but if it is who I remember his albums at the time, they kind of had H.R. Giger covers, didn't they? And I don't know, they were kind of like deicide type things and stuff like that when the gods die, if I'm remembering correct. But didn't he name his son Satan Spawn the Cackle Demon or something? Totally bizarre. I think if I'm remembering the story correct from that, it's going back a long time. David, Simon Vance does a fabulous job of Christopher Hitchens' mortality. I must bear with me a wee second, guys. I wonder, maybe do I know this person's voice? Let me see. Who does? Where are we? Accession. Bear with me a wee second. I'm just wondering. I suppose we could get quite a lot of these. Who reads this one? Oh no, I was wondering. It was of the Ian Banks matter, but it's read by Toby Longworth. He's pretty decent. But yeah, I must listen to those. Yeah, I've got a big Christopher Hitchens audiobook to listen to. It's one of those things where it's all one. I have to keep going back then, but I haven't got around to listening to it yet. It's quite long. Yeah, well, Christopher Hitchens is gone. Ether Prime says, laughing out, with modern tech, we can deep fake a voice much easier than an actor's face if the actor has a significant enough body of work to sample from. Well, there you go then. Richard Burton's your God Emperor. I said, yeah, deep faking. It's actually a thing to consider. Funny that somebody might have been born to play a particular role, but only played it after they died. There's a idea for a science fiction book for Ether. Just came up with that, but yeah. So I'm sure there's plenty of good candidates out there, but if we're thinking of just a voice actor, But yeah, absolutely right. They could deep fake it. Randomly says it's odd that the X-Scenes produced Why Nori. You would have thought that that would have been done by the Tlilaxis since they specialize in genetics. I get the sense that there's more. It's more of a combination of things, and with the Xian No technology, yeah, we're just as you have to kind of assume that some of the different technologies have been bandied around the universe at that point. But it is a good point, randomity. It's the sort of gift that you would have expected to come from the Bene Tlilax. Dave saying there, agreeing with Babs about was it Simon? Let me see. About Simon Vance. Listen to that one as well. Good book, good narrator. Pardon me. Either says in the year 23500, on a desolate planet, a few free men struggle to survive the uneasy peace of the God Emperor of Dune, coming soon in 2027. I should have read that better actually if I'd realized it was in the year 23500, on a desolate planet. A few free men struggle to survive the uneasy peace of the God Emperor of Dune, coming soon in 2027. There you go. Sorry, that's not me. That's not how I sound at all. But if you want to read it like a trailer. Doc, I haven't. Sorry, Doc, that's me. Brad, I haven't because we've been trying to get our house fixed and get our heating restored and all sorts. Kind of one of those. We've been having one of those days yesterday where things fall apart, if you see what I mean. So I'm going to definitely have a wee look for it. I have to have a look at the trailer after this, actually. Scribble that down, things to do. Planet Dune, but yeah, looking forward to that. Yeah, it used to be the fan favorite in The Wizard. What if Hollywood made an X-Men movie? We're back to Glenn Danzig, was that? What if Hollywood... Is that really X-Men to play Wolverine? Doug Bradley, Pinhead. Yeah, Doug Bradley's pretty good. Isn't he a Shakespearean actor? I think he's one of those Shakespearean actors that got him into a horror role, and he's kind of been doing that. But yeah, Glenn Danzig, before Danzig, he was in the Misfits horror. Thank you, Brad. Yeah, I think I was remembering right. Just the name Glenn Danzig just went ping, 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 ping. Lots of mad stuff from the 90s. I think that's just went off in my head, you see. But I hadn't heard the name in a long time. Keith Kolb says, Hawaii's creation is interesting to me as it implies a lot of the different factions in the universe are highly competent, on par, and able to compete with the Bene Gesserit or any Kwisatz Haderach. Yeah, it suggests a combination of technologies, though. Why not? I think, doesn't it? But yeah, it's the Ixians are, and I think they're working away technologically speaking. The Ixians' problem really is that the God Emperor is not crushing them, so they're really not strengthening up as a people, I suppose, in that whole idea of survival of the fittest. Wizard Comics business and previews monthly book popular in America in the 90s. Thank you, Ether. Sometimes sometimes when we're watching American TV, or we pretty much watch things on the web these days. So we look at things like Stephen Colbert, and look, just a few of the American chat shows and stuff. But occasionally it's a reference to a product or something, or a personality within your culture. And it's just we don't have a clue who they are. And as much as everybody's laughing, going, "Who's that? I wonder." I have no idea. End up having to Google. A lot of people are on these kind of shows. Thank you for clearing that up. Yeah, I don't think Wizard Comics business in previews. No, I don't think I'd ever heard of that. In case they have their own breeding program. Ba-da-ba-da. Well, yeah, I mean, Huainori is produced, is created with a goal in mind, isn't it? So that suggests a breeding program and intent. Yeah. Randall, he says, did Leto know that the Bene Tleilaxu had genetic material from almost all of House Atreides? Well, when it comes to Leto II, we have to assume that he pretty much knows almost everything. Neither Prime saying God Planet Dune looks terribly bad. So I have a theory on these things. So there are good bad films, and there are bad good films. There are good films, and then there are also truly bad films. And the ones that I look for are the really good bad films, if you see what I mean. I don't like bad good films. Really good bad films. That's the distinction in my head. That there are a lot of really good bad films, and therefore they're not. Some people think they're bad, but I don't. I'm sure you know exactly what I mean. But Planet Dune looks terrible. It's a question of how bad, how cheesy, and really can we get, these kind of, can we be well entertained by it, regardless of it's an attempt to cash in. As I said, there's a lot of good films like that kind of Roger Corman type things. They were kept in no capsules. Yeah, that's right. Isn't it? I mean, Huainori isn't she born and raised kind of inside a no globe or something like that? Only to the day that she comes out, it's strange. It's almost like an egg, and someone being hatched. Would you maybe agree, metaphorically? And it kind of, I don't know if you know this, but it kind of reminds me on a wee bit. There is a connection to the, oh goodness, here we go. Just popped into my head with the Atreides. Agamemnon and Menelaus, the Atreides, from Greek mythology, Greek history and Greek mythology, are married respectively to, Agamemnon's married to Clytemnestra, and Menelaus is married to Helen of Sparta. So, well, both women they're twins, if you like. In fact, they're part of a set of quads. And the reason why, well, Helen of Troy is called Helen of Sparta, Clytemnestra also of Sparta. And Agamemnon and his brother, they're from Mycenae. Or, eventually to do with the kingdoms that they take. But the story behind them is that basically Tyndareus is the king of Sparta. And when he's off fighting a war, Zeus comes down and rapes his wife, Leda, in the form of a swan. And this is the story of Leda and the swan. And basically, she lays eggs. And out of the egg, one male, one female, one divine, one human. So the four quads are Helen of Sparta, Clytemnestra, Castor, and Pollux, the Dioscuri, the divine twins. So that kind of thing with Huainori, and of course Helen of Sparta is Helen of Troy. But you have to, yeah. So the reason why the kingdom of Sparta becomes open is that whenever Tyndareus comes home and finds four children that are not his own, and his wife went, Zeus did it in the form of a swan. I do believe he throws himself off the walls of Sparta and kills himself. And but yeah, so that there's kind of a Huainori kind of reminds me on the egg-born, the story of Leda and the Swan, and it's attached absolutely to the Atreides, and it's another reiteration of that myth. I don't know if you guys know this. It's a very famous story, Leda and the Swan. But it's almost all the stories of Zeus are kind of Zeus in the form of not getting consent, basically. He's a terrible deity. So that's just a wee thing that popped into my head there, guys. I hope you didn't mind. It seems to be just a modification of a clone. Yeah, it's something to do with. She's very, yeah, I think she is a clone of Malky in some ways, and then she's educated and raised within the globe a certain way, I think. But Malky's Malky's almost, I don't know. I think Malky's a kind of yeah. Randomity's kind of right, isn't? Randomity says, why is a gender swapped copy of Malky, who was a favorite of Leto? So Malky's this boon companion who's a bit body and cheek and pushes the God Emperor's buttons if you can, and but knows that the Emperor's present, so he does things anyway and doesn't really give a shit. And that's why the God Emperor loves him. And so why, you're absolutely right, is basically a female version of this. He's the isn't Malky's the Ixian ambassador, I believe. Excuse me. And it's simply put that he gets on great with the God Emperor, and they do create basically a female version of Malky to entice the God Emperor, and that she is something new to him, and it kind of works in a way. But yeah, that's a good point, Randomity. Let me just back up a check to see if I read everybody's remarks there. So Danzig was approached and he declined, says Brad. Thank you, Brad. I don't know, has Danzig done any acting? All I knew of him was kind of like a death metal type band or something like that. So yeah, sort of like a modification, a clone of Malky, almost like a female inversion, I think. Yeah. Ether Prime says, it looks terrible. I take it this is Planet Judas, or the one who's not good, bad. Excuse me. This is what is specified looking at it. Some people, most of the women, are sent to a planet called Dune to look for a crash ship's crew. They're hunted by tremors like sandworms. Oh, sounds fun. I will give that a Always with an open mind, that's what I say. Not gender swap, but completely inserted clone, inverted. She's the polar opposite. Yeah, but it's the qualities, really, isn't it? But yeah, she's refined as well, and yeah, everything about Hawai Nori is to entice and appeal to the God Emperor. Possibly to appeal to his sense of wonder and appeal to his humanity, I think. Oh, excuse me. I'm going to blow my nose here, folks. Give me a wee second. I've learned that I can mute the microphone and not inflict this all upon you, so 1 wee second. There we go. All this technology, and I was leaving the room a couple of times before to blow my nose, and I could have just hit the mute button. There you go. There we go. I might be inverted polar opposite. I'm not remembering the character brilliantly, by the way, Ether. So, Bab says Ether, yes. The Thali did only Golas, the Sisterhood only sex, clones not covered much. My twist on God Emperor, says Randomity, would be for the Tlilax who tempt Leto with a way to restore his humanity, sort of how they tempted Paul with a Chani Gola. Yes, we were chatting about your idea last night, Randomity. I thought that was really good. A way to restore his humanity, or even, as a how they tempted Paul with a Chani Gola. Totally got that. Yeah, I was. Can Leto II, if that was possible, could they create a Gola where he is pre-worm version, if you see what I mean? She is gentle where he is brash. Yes, I'm starting to remember, Ether. But isn't it, there must, as I remember, it's got a bunch of something to do with Malky's qualities that are in. It must be certain of her qualities that they've bred in, a certain number of Malky's qualities that they've bred into Hawai Nori. But yeah, they've probably learned quite a bit about what the God Emperor is like because of I suppose they can learn as much about how he behaves with Malky, how he can push his buttons, what are the things that you can get away with the God Emperor. And so again, the God Emperor kind of probably does know about it all the time anyway. So she is gentle where he is brash. Yeah, Danzig has acted poorly, says Brad. Keith says, yeah, guys, you're probably remembering this a lot better than me. It's been a long time for me looking at God Emperor. Hawaii's education also implies a deep understanding of psychology, not just in her training, but in understanding the God Emperor enough to know how to train. Yeah, there is often a psychological approach at certain characters, I suppose. And the way plots work, there's an attempt, and again, the whole thing about Malky is that he's probably an attempt to understand the God Emperor. Yeah. I wonder does Hawaii represent part of a syzygy with the God Emperor? She's literally, Ether's saying she's literally the opposite. Milky Way, the ultimate bro dude. Here, is that Malky? Is that your spell check hitting Milky Way for Malky? Malky's the ultimate bro dude, whereas Hawaii is the perfect old-fashioned lady. Milky, not Milky Way. God damn it, I hate autocorrect. Yeah, it's okay. I figured that one out, Ether. Autocorrect. That's a good one, though, Milky Way. Milky Ways are all me. Malky, god damn it, not again. Yeah, I've just got a snapshot of her in my head. She is made to entice him, isn't she? I'm not wrong that she's made an. Isn't she? She brought up and exists inside a no globe. I think. I must have to refresh my memory. Excuse me. Does anybody know the etymology of Hawaii Nori? What language or part of the world that name's from? It's an interesting name. Don't actually know myself. Hawaii Nori is genetically designed to entice Leto. The plan worked far beyond expectations. See, I can't even remember this now. Is he going to marry her? I just can't remember. I don't know the whole point up to the point on the bridge, and I know what happens on the bridge, and I kind of remember why, but I can't remember. Though it's just not good in my memory, guys. It's a pity, actually. But yeah, Hawaii Nori it's kind of that kind of. So there must be something a bit similar to Hawaii Nori. For those who know her well, to the hate Gola. Would that make sense? I think that there's possibly some kind of intent, but it's just I don't know what can you really hope to achieve. Well, no, I suppose it's all about hiding things from the God Emperor, isn't it? Ducking autocorrect. Says Keith. Travis Price says, "Hey there, cooking while listening. Happy to be around. Thanks for joining us, Travis. What are you cooking tonight, sir? Something nice and tasty, I hope." Ducking, says Ether. Keith says Leto deduced that she was raised in a no globe because he has no prescient vision of her. Leto dies in his. Randomly, thanks. So he is going to marry her. That's kind of it's things pop in. If you see what I mean, after all this time, Leto dies in his wedding procession, says Randominic, with Mineo and Hwai when Nayla lasguns the bridge. And the bridge, everything goes down into the Idaho River. Isn't that correct? I think. But yeah, so he was actually. Yeah, I can't wait to get to God Emperor of Dune. Definitely, we'll have to do a kind of live chat on God Emperor of Dune once I get through it, because it's just such a good book to have a chat about. And I can remember so little of it at the minute. So Leto just that she was raised in Logo because he has no prescient vision, or so it's Leto's almost total prescience, and he kind of knows about that there are these places where he can't see, and he kind of knows about things because of that, knowing about something because of its absence. If you see what I mean. So he dies in the wedding procession with Mineo and Hwai when Nayla lasguns the bridge. Hwai tells Leto she will go before him. Let's go the cart before he falls. Oh, we've got an answer. Excellent, Ether. Ether says, thank you very much. Ether says the name Hawaii is Korean origin and means brightness. A user from Indonesia says the name Hawaii means shine. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you very much. What about the Nori part? Do we know anything about that? But it's a name of Korean origin. Very good. And I believe Duncan kills Nayla out of rage over Hawaii's death. I'm trying to think about what Hawaii reminds me of. It's interesting. This is a constructed woman. And the enticement does work. She's going to marry Leto II. And she's genuine though, isn't she? That's the thing. She is just herself, as I recall. She's not. I don't get the sense that she, that there's a, like the hate goal, that there's a hidden purpose or an activator. It simply really is the enticement that she's like a perfect woman, isn't she? Perfectly created for, if I'm remembering this right. And Keith says, why was also made to seduce Duncan because the Ixians knew it would hurt Leto. Oh, I'm not remembering that at all, does she? I can't remember that at all. Oh, I'm looking forward to reading God Emperor of Dune now, I have to say. David says, thanks, Ether. I've heard the meeting some time ago and couldn't find my source recently. Um, I believe Duncan. Hang on. Oh, I must have missed something. I did. Just skipped over it. David says, I believe Duncan kills Neela out of rage over Hawaii's death. She was also made to suggest Duncan because the Ixians knew it would hurt Leto. Thanks, it hurts the meaning some time ago and couldn't find me. So sorry, catching up, folks. And yes, he cuts her in half with a las gun. So that's Duncan cutting Neela in half with a las gun. And again, I suppose with that within God Emperor of Dune, I suppose that's the iteration about the people around the center of power and what they get up to and what they decide and so on. They're fish speakers, aren't they? I believe. Yeah. It's sort of, I'm remembering some of this stuff, I have to say. That's the thing about the God Emperor. It's kind of his own insight into everything. I think I do like him as a character. I'm really looking forward to getting back to that book. But there you go. Has anyone got any other questions about Leto II or just the conclusions that we had there in the episode? Fire them away. We've got a good wee thread going here today with all sorts of things. I think we're definitely all fascinated by the God Emperor. And I said, why Nori is quite interesting. And I'm looking forward to taking a good look at her again, because certainly as one of the female characters, she, as a syzygy, looking at her qualities compared to the God Emperors would be quite interesting. Just in terms of how Herbert makes pairings and so on with his writing. So there we go. That's good to know. And we got found out that Hwai Nori, or Hwai, is a Korean name. It's another one of those things we get cultures within the names and so on. Let's just catch up. So Keith says Duncan kills Neela because he was in love with Hwai as well. And Randomity says Leto couldn't see the moment of his death since it was engineered by Siona, who was immune from his prescience. Ether Price says, no problem. Yes, she is a fish speaker spy who believes if she follows Siona's orders, the God Emperor will prove himself invulnerable. Siona's orders. I could see Ronda Rousey playing Neela. Oh, we're casting. Who would you cast for Hwai Nori, I suppose? That would be quite interesting. And I suppose if we ever, randomly, some of you were considering, how far is the film going to go? How far is the enterprise of bringing the Dune series to the big screen? How far will they go with it? And certainly, if they are going to run with it, then you need Jason Momoa on board for a fair bit, don't you? Ronda Rousey for Neela would be great. Oh, and this one, I recall Leto saying Neela something along the lines of, I do believe she could make me angry, since he knew that she would follow his orders so unquestioningly. Yes, and it's about that blindness, blindly following orders, the way the fish speakers look at him and so on and so forth, isn't it? It's very, that's the thing. The stuff that I'm kind of remembering most about the God Emperor is really his commentary on the nature of power, on his father's power and stuff like that. But it's, as we say, it's a very well fleshed out book. There's human drama and there's romance even to a degree there. And I still think the very silly moment on it, isn't it, where Duncan Idaho, is it the Ixian embassy is attacked by face dancers, and they're all disguised as Duncan Idaho, I'll put a picture in all this in the video, but he strips off, and that's his way of defeating the face dancers. Not one face dancer figures out that we should all just strip off as well. Oh, here we go. I think Ether's doing a wee bit of research for us here. Ether says that Nori is a female version of Nairi, which means, according to a user from the United Kingdom, the name Nairi is a Maori origin, and means small flower. So we had a Korean name that meant brightness or shining or shine, and small flower as a Maori name as well. So it's a multicultural name. And Naked Duggan runs out from there. Yeah, it's kind of just a bit of it's almost just like a streaking moment, isn't it, in the middle of the Dune series? I think it's quite funny. It's one of those random, bizarre things, I think. Thank you very much, Ether Prime. That's great. So we got very, very good. You can work with a lot of the names in the Dune series as well. So we should probably know his name, right? Little White Flower as well, and is of Maori origin. Nice sleuthing, Ether, says David. As an author, I have many name resources. I'm sure you do. Yeah, I try not to operate, guys, here from memory, which isn't the best of ways of approaching this. I really could do with some info and stuff like that, but it's kind of part of the point. Is I enjoy trying to jog my memory for this stuff, and a lot of it's there. But there's just so much in the Dune series, and after about 10 years, so very nearly finished the first Dune novel now. And actually, what I'm really looking forward to is actually hitting the appendices again before I hit Dune Messiah. Names are interesting. I think names have power. So my first name, Russell, is either an Irish surname or a French first name, and it means red. And my middle name's Terence, which is a Roman name, which means strong. And so I think I've told you that Sloan's an old Irish name, means host army or horde. It's seen as a Croony name, I believe. But yeah, I think names are quite funny. I think they're interesting names. Always interested in the etymology. Like if you look at Gaius Hal Muhim. What am I drinking tonight? Oh, it's blackcurrant and cordial. I'm not very well, Keith, in case you haven't figured. I've been coughing. Yes, I know your first name is Alaric, Ether. That's an interesting name. Why were you given the name Alaric? It's a great name. What were your parents thinking? Or was it just alphabetical? Chappy Sack Rome. Good name. What's he? King of the Alaric is what? King of the is he Visigoths? Where would he be? Let me see. Alaric. I think he's yeah. You probably know better than me. David Visigoths. Yeah, Visigoths. But yeah, it's just blackcurrant and cordial, and I've got me my coffee's cold, and I'm bugged. I don't know, can you guys not tell? I'm really, really, really bunged up. And I actually, whenever I started doing these, I hadn't really planned to do them, and then once we figured out the tech and went, yeah, let's run with it. I've kind of had a bit of a still have it, I think, but I'm taking my medicine. A bit of a chest infection. You'll be pleased to know it wasn't COVID, but we're all dosed here up here. It's a very like a head cold, and it's just a lot of pressure. But my throat's been very tickly and I'm talking a lot. So, but it's just blackcurrant cordial and water, sadly. And that's my cough medicine. I got the lid off already because I had such a hard time trying to open this the other day. I lose a fight with a paper bag. My father's a Christian pastor. I think he said something like that, Ethan. Yeah. So why pick Alaric? Or sometimes my folks, I know that my folks pick my name out of a book. By the way, my first name was just picked out of a book, and it was an alphabetical one, and they just got to the first one that they liked, I suppose. So Brad says, I'm the only one in my family without a biblical name. The literal translation is the man from the hill with a lake and the pretty flower. I think that's quite funny, Brad. You see, people say my name is biblical. For example, my son has what you would call a biblical name, but it's not a biblical name at all. It's Greek. And the word Bible means, the books, if you like, arguably a synonym for a library. So when people say my name is from biblical, it's a biblical name. Biblical times, they're terms I don't like at all, and they're kind of very much charged and propagandist. It's they're Christian ideas, if you see what I mean. Biblical time. Period of the New Testament. That's not that periods are that's the times of the Roman Empire to me, if you see what I mean. But no, I get what you're saying. But this is my pedantry about this kind of thing. But what's the etymology of Bradley? Is it Brad? Are you a Bradley, Brad? What's the etymology of that? Is it that be a Welsh name or something? Random, he says Leto enabled the people around him to engineer his assassination. Siona was created to be invisible to him. Nyla was instructed to follow all orders from Siona, even if they endangered him. Ethan Prime says Alaric was an early Christian who saved Christianity from being utterly destroyed and lost in time. Must look into that. That's kind of not what I know about him, but I might be wrong. Yeah, he's a. I suppose, yeah, responsible for the sack of Rome in 410. What is it I know him of for? I don't know. Theodosius. But that's probably the sack of Rome. There we go. Alaric is also the origin of Richard, and my parents had a best friend named Richard. Alaric. See, yeah, there are lots of ways names change and move around across the world. And there's actually a lot of similarities to names that appear differences. I'm fascinated by names and words and etymology, guys. That's why I'm asking. Leto enabled the people around. Yeah. What Random is saying is that it really. I mean, I don't know if he's in. Yeah, but he's saying all things, and it kind of there's a goal to be had. I think again, how much does Leto see heading towards the death that he must have, the 4 deaths? It's interesting. It's kind of a thing, when you watch people do certain things and you question, should I let them do it? It's kind of, if you understand what I mean, I'm depending on if it's not going to be fatal or not. But if you ever watch somebody and go, oh my goodness, no, and then you kind of go, should I tell them? Really, should I before they, and this is going to go wrong, or should I just let them learn themselves? And to me, I'll let them learn as long as it's not going to kill them. If you see what I mean. But it reminds me of something like that, There we go. Excuse me. Brad says, yeah, Bradley Norman Rose. Just don't ask my date of birth or tax file number. No worries. I nearly said, you have to be careful sometimes, I suppose, being on YouTube, but I nearly mentioned an author's birthday the other day. And the point I was going to discuss an author and was going to point out that I shared a birthday with them. Not say what author, And I went, oh, don't say that. If you see what I mean. David says at random, sometimes I thought about this in terms of a hyper-competitive mentor who wants his pupil to best him, but has to do everything he can to prevent an unearned victory. Keith says, my first name is Celtic, meaning forest. My last name is Kohl, meaning is German, meaning club or mace. Very good. Excellent. That's just my wife's nickname is Warhammer, the Warhammer. My some women are battle axes. My wife's a Warhammer. And I actually own a war maul, a real one. Here, and I was explaining to her that the maul is kind of halfway between a hammer and a mace. But I was actually talking to my wife about possibly buying her a real Warhammer just so that she could have one. There you go. Or so says a quick Google search, says Keith. Yeah. Or names travel all over the place. I suppose Sloan's one of those names that people think's English a lot because it's. And funnily enough, my name Russell Sloan is my name. Russell Square and Sloan Square in England, in London. If you see what I mean. But no, Sloan. It's an old Irish name as well. There you go. Of course, it's funny. People today. There's Sloan's a girl's name now. It's become a girl's first name, hasn't it? And sorry, I had to scrub my name comment. You people are good, but this is public. No worries, no worries. Of course. Mm. Absolutely, about keeping yourself safe these days. I'm sort of the person that if you wanted to come and say something, if you'd be surprised, I think I'd be quite relaxed about it. Go ahead and see what happens, kind of thing. If you know what I mean. But yeah, the internet's a funny old place. I don't know, the World Wide Web. It's one of those things where I tend to think of it as more misinformation, I think, than information. And even if anybody understood that building an information superhighway, that you are going to have misinformation, that all things have their equal and opposite. I think the level of misinformation to information is like that. I would tell my students that kind of almost 90 out of 100 things you read on the web is nonsense. Sadly, because it should be a great source of information, Excuse me. Am I for a stranger or who speaks a language I don't know? Sorry, I'm staring down. It's Keith. So as an Australian, I could call you a bushwhacker. I'm trying to remember. It's Babs Bible says it's great compared to Babel and Tower of Babel. I've missed something. Is that your name, Babs Bilo? Is that correct? I'm wondering what. Sorry, I must have missed something here. Let me just. Arabic Rams, how many sins I thought about in terms of blah blah blah. First name's Kelly, so quick Google search. I had to scrub my name comment. Maybe I missed it. I can't remember. Brad Rose. People are good at this. This is public. My first. Yeah, first stranger who speaks a language I don't know. Not quite sure what you mean. I'm losing a bit of context here, guys. I'm a bit confused. Keith says it's Greek compared to Babel and Tower of Babel. Story. That's an interesting story. I've got a Babel fish. Can you see it up there in the corner? Whee. There. There's a Babel fish. Is that your name, Babs? I take it, Babs, are you a Barbara? Hope I'm not being too nosy, folks. Feel free to tell me to mind my own business. It's just interesting, Yes, because we used to talk about my wife's name and sort of where it comes from. It's probably an old Welsh one as well. There you go. Anyway, folks, I'll tell you what, where are we at? It's about 5 minutes to 12. Let's see. I'm going to maybe call it a wee bit of a night in about 5 minutes or so. So if you fancy any more questions or any wee comments, let us know. It's just again, I'm going to save my throat a wee bit because this is this is a fair bit of bit of mental taxing, I suppose. But we have plenty to say about tomorrow's episode as well, where we're going to start the big look at the whole ecology theme of Dune. Yeah, and that's going to. Sorry, I'm just having a wee nose there. He called it bad Browns and being called worse. There are always worse things to be called, I suppose. Depends on how you take it. But all right, we'll have a wee look at this. Looking at the different aspects of the ecological themes within Dune, the hydraulic despotism, the systemic thinking, etc., etc. Let's just have a wee look. You should really research Alaric the First. He was a unique character. He sacked Rome. That's what I remember him for. But he forbid the destruction of anything but Roman government buildings and did not allow the raping and pillaging of. Alaric's going to be in my fall and decline somewhere, wherever it is. But that's the last time I looked at him, a long, long time ago. The city, in short, if not for all, like for most of what we know of Rome, would have been lost to time. Arguably, Rome's been sacked more than once, Ether. So, in fact, most ancient cities are wrecked on multiple occasions. Not allowing the raping. Raping is doesn't mean the same thing in the ancient world. It means to seize, to take, or to carry away. It also means to sexually assault people as well. But that's the whole rape and rape means to seize, to take, to carry away. So the city, in short, if not for Alaric I, most of what we know in Rome would have been lost to time. Yeah, I suppose there's a lot of there's the actual factual stuff that went on, and there's also quite a lot of romanticism about that, as far as I know, because that the idea that they didn't. It's often said that the nature of the Celtic peoples, if you like, extending up and so on, and up to the. Now, see, the Celtic's a term of language. Goth, Visigoths, all of these kind of things. They're linguistic terms, really. But yeah, absolutely, Alex. I remember reading something about him when I was reading the Nibelungenlied, and I'm trying to remember what that was. I don't think that was sitting out in the hall somewhere. But yeah, no, you probably know more about him than I do. I'm sure you have researched them if you're named after him. Can't think of any famous Russells in particular myself. I don't go by the name Russell either. I just go by the name Russ, the short version of it. Hence the red Russ at the start of the title card. But yeah, you don't really kind of want to destroy a city whenever you can make good money from it and all that kind of thing. There is a reason why we think of Gothic architecture and style post-Alaric in regards to Rome. He and Stalacto had a long standoff. I heard the involuntary fornication was considered a perk of being a soldier in bronze and iron. Oh wow, it's a part of brutal life, I suppose. Arguably, involuntary fornication. If we're going to come up with, arguably the history of Rome itself is based on two different rapes, if you like. One probably in both senses, but there's what's called the rape of the Sabine women. I think it's the rape of Lucretia as well. So there are particular points in Roman history. Folk song, Young Ned of the Hills calls Oliver Cromwell as a rape. Armies rape people. That's what they've always done. They kill as well. Yeah, it's just standard. It's nothing ancient, nothing. It still happens. Horrible, brutal. I mean, yeah, there's a very bad case here in Britain where a young woman was put under arrest by a policeman as she was raped and killed by him, using his authority as a policeman. And it's in the papers very recently. A lot of women protesting about it, and the female head of the Metropolitan Police put it this way: she had all those women seized, taken, and carried away. If you see what I mean, and they were there to protest against the rape and murder of a woman by a serving British police officer in London, who used his credentials and his powers to kill her. So trust of the police by pretty much women at the minute in Britain's zero, I would imagine. And the reaction of the head of the Metropolitan Police, I think his name is Cressida Dick, just appalling. There we go. But anyway, we'll just round up, folks. Great fun tonight, everyone. I won't be able to catch the next few live casts. It's been great hanging out in the chat so much lately. Hope to see you all again later. Take care of yourselves. Thanks very much for joining us, David. Take it easy. I'm sure you can always watch them after the fact, I suppose. But thanks very much for joining and participating. So yeah, everybody, we'll be back tomorrow night as usual. Ether said good night, Doc. Cheers for another great episode and discussion hereafter. Cheers all, and see you next time. Keith saying police here in the US don't have a much better reputation. Yeah, I think that's kind of one of those things globally. It's part of that malaise we talked about, guys. But there we go. So listen, folks, we'll chat all about. We'll see you tomorrow, hopefully, if you'd like to join us for the episode at 10. Setting up all the stuff on ecology within Frank Herbert's Dune series. This is the thing it's most famous for, really, I suppose, more so than the more dominant themes. So I hope you'll check it out and join me afterwards for a few questions and answers, guys. And in the meantime, take it easy, everybody. Good night, Ron99. Good night, Keith. Good night, everyone. And look after yourselves, and I'll see you tomorrow. All the best. Thank you very much now. Bye-bye. Bye.